Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friend Chat again.
Hello.
For, like, the first time in years. So, it's just me and Josh today.
No Zach.
Or Will. Anyways, so we wanted to talk about Zelda, because we were just talking about Zelda, so we're like, let's just fucking sit down and talk about Zelda and Nintendo shit, because no one else on this channel talks about Nintendo shit. So, let's talk about Nintendo stuff.
No one else on the channel talks about anything on the channel.
Yeah. No one uses our channel right now. Anyways, so we were just Majora's Mask, my favorite Zelda game, which I don't know. I guess our fan base would know that, but
our fan base.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
Anyways, so obviously, but like I did a really, really poor job in my video explaining why Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game. Which there's a lot of reasons why I didn't even think about at that point while I was watching it. Or while I was making it, I mean. And
Cory regrets that video.
Kinda.
It's just a shameful display.
It's just kind of the only reason I like it is because it kickstarted everything that I'm doing now. Which I like way more, so...
Yeah.
I'm glad that
I like way more, Pablo.
Pablo. That just went up today at the time of this recording. So anyways... So Majora's Mask is my favorite game because it does... This is one of the main reasons. It has, like, the best game feel of any Zelda game I've ever played. Now, the funny thing is about Majora's Mask, I've never actually played the original N64 version. I've only ever played the Zelda Anniversary Collection on the GameCube. And and I also played the 3DS one that just came out, like, last week. So, I'm loving that one to death.
I played through a dungeon of it yesterday for the first time in a while. Played through the Snowhead Temple dungeon. I've played through that Zelda game incredibly slower than any other, which is saying something because it took childhood me like 5 years to play all the way through Twilight Princess. But anyways, I play it on WiiWare.
Well, apparently it's interesting because the head guy, I want to say,
Eiji Onuma?
Yeah, in Onuma, he mentioned that it was the most hardcore Zelda he can think of, minus the first two.
Huh.
He said that, like, 3D-wise, that's the hardest Zelda game. Which,
yeah,
it definitely is. It
agree.
absolutely is. There's a lot of, like, stuff where you just kind of have to get the mechanic. It doesn't really show you a whole lot of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Even the 3DS one doesn't really show you that much of what to do. It adds the Sheikah Stone that was from the Ocarina of Time remake, which essentially, if you're really stuck on something, usually it's just main quest stuff. It doesn't tell you any of the side quest stuff, to my knowledge, but I haven't really used it much, so I could be wrong here. But anyways, it essentially, it's the thing where you crawl into it and then you see visions of what you're supposed to do next. I get why they do it, because especially with Majora's Mask, because that game can be very cryptic at times. For some reason, though, when I played through it initially, a lot of the main story stuff wasn't that confusing to me. I didn't actually have that much trouble. My initial trouble with Majora's Mask, now, when I actually played it for real, was what I had to do in the beginning. Not so much as Deku Scrub Link, but after that. After you get back to normal, you're just kind of given the world, and it's like...
Yeah.
It mentions Woodfall once. It's like, go to the swamp, and it's like... Is that the swamp over there? And then you go to the swamp and you're like, what do I do now? And it's like, there's just all this shit. And you're like, I guess, I don't know.
It took me a really long time when I first started playing Majora's Mask to even find like the first area of the Deku Palace or whatever it is. For the longest time, I just ran around Termina in that game and did like a couple early side quests, or tried to do them and then ran out of time.
Yeah, pretty much. Hang on.
What?
Still help.
Okay.
Shit, anyway. But anyways,
Is this my water?
Yeah. But yeah, Majora's Mask, like when I was a little, it's weird. I have a weird history with Majora's Mask, which I should have told this in my video. That's really what my video should have been back. Like my history with it, why I really like it, not just saying, it's good, Nintendo should remake it, and it's good. That's literally my video. But anyways... The stuff I should have mentioned was, like, my history with it, which was, when I was younger, I did actually originally play it with the Anniversary, like, edition, the Collector's Edition, and, when I did, I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, I got to become Deku Scrub Link, and at the time, I think, in my defense, I was like 8 or 9 when I first played the game. But like, and Zelda wasn't something I grew up with per se at that point. That was really when I got introduced to Zelda for real. That and Wind Waker. Wind Waker is technically my first Zelda game. But anyways, that was like first time I really had any experience with any of the N64 ones was that collector's edition. So I when I booted up Majora's Mask for the first time, I got to the part where I turned into Deku Scrub Link, and I got to Clock Town. Then I was clueless forever. I had no idea what I was doing. So, interestingly, after that, I just kind of like never picked it up again. I just didn't... It wasn't that it didn't interest me. It actually really interested me. I was like, oh, wow, this is really weird. I mean, I didn't like it because I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of like dismissed it almost. And so, what ended up happening was I ended up getting an action replay for my GameCube, and I went back to that game with the action replay thinking, like, oh, I can get through this game now. I can just spawn whatever. And so I did. I got all the masks and stuff. I got like every single mask in the game, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to do with any of them. So I took off the Deku Scrub mask. I'm like, yay, I'm human-like again. I'm like, what does this Zora mask do? And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And then I'm like, what does the Goron mask do? And then I ended up just fucking around in the fields of Termina for like 3 hours as Goron Link, just rolling in a circle. Like, I didn't really know where to go still. I was like,
I did that once.
And I was like, I just don't know what's happening. Like, and looking back, I mean, I just didn't really try. I didn't try to give the game the time of day. I didn't really try to give that game the time of day until really YouTube. I started really watching a lot of YouTube and stuff, and like PBG was like, oh, it's my favorite Zelda game and all that stuff, and I was like, why though? I was like, I really like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and stuff. I'm like, I guess I gotta check it out. I gotta check it out again, totally fresh look on it, just try to play it objectively as possible. And I went in and loved it to death, and now it's my favorite. So
I remember I was over here the night that you beat... Was that when you beat Majora for the first time?
Yes. Yeah,
yes.
You were here for that. Actually, no, wait. You weren't here for the first time, but I went and did it again.
Was that as Fierce Deity?
Because I had to get footage, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to get footage for that, for the video, but I don't think I ever ended up using the Fierce Deity Link footage, ironically.
I have no idea.
Anyways.
I watched that video once, no offense. I never watched it again.
Me too. No, just kidding. I watched it. I don't know. I don't even want to know. But anyways, so point is,
I never really. I got into Zelda in. I forget why exactly.
Was Twilight Princess your first Zelda?
Wind Waker was.
Okay.
I forget why exactly I bought Wind Waker. I know I had an older kid who was my neighbor, and he used to come over, and he played Metroid Prime basically in front of me because he didn't. I don't think they had a GameCube. They had a Nintendo 64.
I don't want to transition to Metroid, but I do want to get there at some point.
Yeah. But and then he talked about how he loved. They had a Nintendo 64. Then that was like his console generation.
Yeah.
So he always talked about how he loved both Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, and how he loved Zelda and stuff. And that was sort of, I think, the reason why child me picked to buy Wind Waker at one point. And then I bought Wind Waker, and at first I didn't really get what to do. Once I got old enough to comprehend the Zelda formula, I got to the point where it was the third dungeon. It was no wait. That's the second dungeon. Sorry. It was the forest dungeon. That one. I got stuck there right before you have to get the boomerang. I didn't know where to go or what to do. You got stuck in the same place at one point, if I remember correctly.
Actually, I think what happened with me... Wind Waker is an interesting story with me, because Wind Waker started when I was really young. Like, I was like 5. Wind Waker was my very first Zelda game. I got it when I was really young because I was like, Links and Smash Brothers and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like I've always just, like, back of my mind have known about Zelda. Like, I can't remember a time where I didn't know about Zelda. I just didn't really, like, know the games back then. So, I picked up Wind Waker. When we got Wind Waker, it's, like, one of the most nostalgic games to me ever. Especially just that Outset Island beginning bit. That game, because I never got past it, really, as a kid. I'd always, like... When you go to what's his name? I forget the guy who teaches you to use the sword.
Orca?
Yeah, when you teach he teaches you how to use the sword, and I remember his sound bites just like just the frickin' like that weird like every single time, because like I didn't really know like how to read that well back then, and so when he'd just be like, you have to make sure you do like a forward vertical slash, and I was like, B, and he'd just be like, always go, hurrah, hurrah! And I'd just be like, like every single time. And eventually I somehow would like get to the point where I'd have to do that counterattack that Winwaker has.
Yeah.
I'd have to do that move, but I never could figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. So every single time I just quit, and I'd just be like, I just don't know what to do. And then like one time I did actually, eventually I actually got around to finding how to get the sword, and I got the sword, and then I went up and I fucking saved Tetra, she left, and you go with her, and then the Forsaken Fortress. That's the part I could never beat when I was a little kid.
It took me a while to get through the Forsaken Fortress, but I remember I finally, like, after a year or so, I came back to the game. First I was on Outset, and I was the same as you, basically, on Outset. I dicked around at Outset a lot at first, and then I eventually got to Forsaken Fortress, and I, like, almost made it through sometimes. I think Adrian actually helped me make it through the first time I ever made it through Forsaken Fortress. Adrian is the name of my older neighbor, man, friend, guy who played video games with me when I was a kid, which was really cool. That's a good experience. But,
it's kind of weird, because that's like my older brother for me a little bit.
Yeah. It's always good to have someone older to like help you get into it, because when you're that young, you don't really comprehend.
Yeah, you're so impressionable at that point that like anything that like an older guy who seems to want to be interested, like you want to be more like someone who is interested in things that look kind of cool to you.
Yeah.
Like Zelda just looked cool to me when I was a kid, so I was like, oh, like this. I like Link's design. I like the sword. Like I like swinging a sword. I like beating stuff up. I like running around doing stuff.
I forget. I don't think I actually seriously played through a large portion of Wind Waker until after Twilight Princess came around, because it feels like my memory's hazy, but it feels like Twilight Princess was my first real Zelda game that I played through. I've never actually... Skyward Sword is the only Zelda game I've ever played through all at once. All the other ones have been segmented. In, like, not a single one. In Ocarina of Time, I'm at... On my WiiWare file, I'm at, like, the Water Temple, and I got there, like, 2 years ago, and I haven't played it since.
Oh my gosh.
Twilight Princess is the worst. I got to the water dungeon in Twilight Princess, and then I didn't play it for, like, a year. And then, after that, I got to... I think it was actually 2 years before I beat the water dungeon. And then eventually